It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
Hi, I'm James Van Alstyne, and this is Car Con Carne. That man on screen with me is Brent Sopel. Brent is a retired professional hockey player. As a defenseman, he played professional hockey in the NHL, KHL, and AHL. And in 2010, he won the Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks. Brent Sopel is dyslexic. He's the founder of the Brent Sopel Foundation. And though he's known for playing professional hockey, he would like his legacy to be that he did everything within his power to assist dyslexic children everywhere. And that leads us to the You Are Not Alone series, which this interview is part of. Our guest this week is, quite simply, the best diver in the history of the sport. He's won 4 gold medals and 1 silver medal in the Olympic Games, and he has plenty of medals and honors beyond that. In his personal life, he came out as HIV positive in the late 80s and has done a lot of substantive work as a gay rights and HIV awareness advocate. He's written books. He's been the subject of his own 30 for 30 short on ESPN, Thicker Than Water. He's appeared on TV shows like Portlandia and Entourage. He is a legend. He is an icon. He's an inspiration. Our guest this week, Greg Louganis. Silver medalist at the age of 16. I need to have a talk with my kids about where they're at in their life.
Those underachievers. Oh my God.
My 16-year-old, I'm going to call her after 2.
But what an interesting balance, though. I mean, here you are, you're tough childhood, you're wrestling with dyslexia, and then on the other hand, you're winning the silver medal in the Olympics. What does that do to you, to your head emotionally? Because kids are messed up emotionally just in general at the age of 16.
Oh, yeah.
All this swirling around. How did you reconcile? How do you stay grounded, I guess?
Well, it was, a lot of the kids in high school, because I was a sophomore, going to the Olympics. But a lot of the kids didn't know what I did. I kept it away from a lot of people. One thing that I did do is I did help coach the men's and women's dive team from freshman on. But they just thought I was a pretty good diver. They didn't know that the caliber of diver was world class. So I didn't share that with them. I didn't think they would be interested. So it was really interesting when I came back from Montreal with a silver medal. Everybody was celebrating me, and I didn't understand it because I went there to win. I didn't go there to take second because Dr. Sammy Lee was coaching me at that time. He was an Olympic gold medalist in 48 and 52. He was coaching me to beat Klaus DiBiase from Italy, who was going for his 3rd Olympic gold medal, and I failed. So coming home, I thought I was a failure. So it was really confusing when I got home because everybody was celebrating me, and I didn't feel worthy.
Wow. I mean, in hindsight, looking back, you realize the silver is a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah. I mean, it took many years before I could hold that silver medal with any pride.
Wow.
It took decades.
Question for you. Did you not tell the kids in your high school because you thought that they didn't care? Or was it your head telling yourself they're not going to care?
Well, it was in my head, because obviously it was in my head. Because, when I was in 3rd grade, I did a acrobatic and modern dance routine to Tears of a Clown, and I got beat up for that because I was a sissy. And
now look where you are, right?
Yeah, and so that's where my head went to. What my story I was telling myself was that they don't care, they don't. But I did go to my 30-year reunion. I went to one of my reunions, and I couldn't go to my 10-year reunion because I was at the Olympic Games. And so then I didn't go to 10, 20. I went to my 30-year reunion. And at my 30-year reunion, I just went on a whim, went down there, and somebody brought up that when I did that dance in 3rd grade, I said, "Oh my God, here it comes!" And all the people around say, "Oh my God, yeah, I can't believe we couldn't believe that a kid our age could do something like that. That was so awesome." I mean, and they were like, I was like, "Oh my God, you're kidding," But those are the voices when you're a kid you don't hear.
Yeah,
and
kids don't share those things.
That's the real dyslexic side of us, are those voices. From a very young age, and they only get bigger and bigger as the older we get and have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Going back to learning you're HIV positive.
Yeah.
Thinking about where we're at in the present day, we're recording this in 2021. PrEP is a thing. So many advances have happened in the past few decades. Back in the late 80s, getting diagnosed with HIV for a lot of people was a death sentence.
It was a death sentence, yeah.
Could you ever have imagined, 1, being around today, 2, seeing the advances that have been made so far?
No, I mean, because when I was diagnosed in '88, 6 months prior to the Olympic Games, I honestly did not believe I'd see 30. I mean, even my doctors were saying, get your affairs in order. And so then, time, progressed, and the protease inhibitors came on. It's been difficult, because I viaticated my life insurance policy. I mean, there were so many things I certainly wasn't saving up for retirement.
Right.
No, I think I was smart enough to save a bit, but I wasn't planning for the future. I wasn't really planning on being here.
Wow.
So, I mean, I even had my 33rd birthday. I thought I was telling everybody goodbye. Because
and now you're 61.
Yeah, now I'm 61.
30 years
now I'm 61 looking for a job. Anyone hiring?
Hang on. I'm 44 looking for a job. You want to team up?
Here's the thing.
We're 100 something together. We can do something.
Of course. I'm sure. We got so much to offer.
Yes.
For people who are listening and not watching, what they're not seeing is the fact that Greg Louganis has somehow reversed the aging process. He says he's in his 60s. He looks like he's 15, 20 years younger. It's almost
100%.
supernatural, whatever you're doing, Greg.
He looks younger than I do.
I think I have my biological father to thank because he's Samoan, and so I think that's got a lot to do with that. But also too, I mean, it's all in in what priorities you have. I mean, and that's the thing. My priorities each day, get my yoga practice in, get in my meditation, all of those self-care type things that oftentimes we have a tendency to neglect.
For sure. You wrote your autobiography 25 years ago. Do you feel any need to add to the story? I mean, lots has happened since then.
Yeah, a lot has happened since then, and I mean, I've been mulling over what that next book is, because I also wrote a canine care book for the life of your dog, and it's a basic care, birth to death and grieving, the entire life of a dog. I think there's another book in there. So
I would imagine.
There's no question. You're past 30 years past where you thought you'd be in life. You've never been in a place mentally, spiritually, physically than you are today. So, I'm not very good at math, but I think there's a book there.
And speaking of dogs, this is a selfish question, and it may not be a question you can answer. I have a Bernese Mountain Dog. Are they, in fact, the most stubborn dogs known to the modern world?
Bernese Mountain Dogs, they're awesome. It just, you got to figure out what they like, because Berners can be independent, but you have to figure out what they like. I mean, I had this one dog. It was a Mastiff that wasn't real food motivated, wasn't real toy motivated, but would go nuts for like a plastic gallon jug.
Because either full of beer or was something in there? Am I missing something?
Like the milk jug, the gallon milk jug.
That's awesome.
And he would like pounce on it. He would, his mouth was big enough. He could, crunch it in his mouth. He'd do anything for that. So the key is finding what they like. And it may not be what you expect.
For sure. Going back to your advocacy and support of the LGBTQ world, are professional athletics better with their acceptance of LGBTQ in the present day?
I think they're better. I think definitely, they're better, a lot more awareness. We've got All Out Sports, we've got Athlete Ally. There's quite a few organizations that are out there that are welcoming to the LGBTQ plus community. I think I just joined with Nancy Hogshead Makar, trans. That's a whole nother thing. And I've been blessed because not a whole, when I would do speaking engagements, talk about the LGBTQ plus community, it's like, look, I know a lot about the G in the LGBTQ plus community, but I had to learn about those other letters. And I was blessed to be doing a show in Chicago. I did Just Say No with Alexandra Billings, who is the first transgender that I knew of, and had wonderful discussions with her, and awareness, and Larry Kramer was just incredible, God rest his soul. And then also Kristen Worley, I was on a panel with her in Australia. And so there's so much, and really within the trans community, I mean, there's as many different stories as there are people. And so just be open and aware, and just having, and I told Nancy, I said, I'm so grateful that we're finally having these discussions, about trans athletes, and bringing things fairly, comprehensively, and just having that communication open is so important, to being on a path of acceptance and embracing, the trans community.
Little off topic. How did it feel to watch Mario Lopez play you in the TV movie adaptation?
I thought he did a good job. It was funny because I body doubled him at the time. I did the diving, and it was funny because when I was on set, we started talking. I said, "Oh yeah, I grew up in Chula Vista," and I said, "Oh my God, I grew up in El Cajon," which are right next to each other. And then we started talking about our upbringing, and I did talent contests at Grossmont High, and it was a big, huge talent contest. Oh my God, I was in that same one, years after me. But it was so cool that we had very similar upbringings. And I used to, jab him, that, I should look so good, because he looked pretty hot. And it was like, I should look so good. It's like, okay, yeah. But but we're also working on a new biopic, so could have a different look.
That's awesome. We've talked so much about the positivity and you as a role model and as an icon, Greg. Mental health has been such an important topic over the past year, as we've all been isolated, cut off from what we usually do, who we usually see. After overcoming and achieving everything that you have, what would you tell that kid, that adult, that person who's struggling to be heard, especially now, struggling to fit in and find hope at the end of the tunnel?
It's really important to, it's hard to connect because of the quarantine and all that, but finding outlets, creative outlets, are so important, whether that is music, whether that is writing, whether that is, photography or film or, different things, different things, the way that you can kind of capture things for yourself, that are, that things that you can really celebrate. And I think that that's really important. There's all kinds of support groups that are out there too on Zoom, and finding, those support groups is very important because, like Brent said, I mean, it is so important to realize that we're not alone, because that's when, when suicide happens, is when we feel isolated, we feel alone, and we feel that absolutely nobody will understand us. And it's so important, especially for young people, to know that, others have come before, and there are other people who are going through the same things that you are. So you're never alone. You may feel alone, but you're never alone. And suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Well said.
And, with men, it's 70% of the suicides are men, because of that ego. Because we, it's, obviously men and women are very different, and women want the strong guy and the man to take care, reach out to one of us.
Yeah.
Greg, you've been through everything, and look, you've never been better. And myself, I've been through hell and back, and here I am. Go to one of us. It's because if we don't support each other and don't help each other, what do we got? We've got nothing. God's granted me to be here today, and both you gentlemen. And somebody needs something. The day of the Zoom, it's a lot easier to reach out. Before, Greg, there was no support groups for you. You had to drive around, in California, or drive to find one. Now you can get online and you can find somebody, or you can find that support. So know that somebody's out there for you.
Yeah, definitely. And reach out, don't be afraid, because really you can't help somebody else without helping yourself. So when you reach out to somebody, if you're hurting and you feel like you're being a bother to somebody, you are not, because by reaching out, what you're doing is filling that person up with their value, and oftentimes, like, one thing that happened to me was somebody wrote me a note, like 15 years after we had first met. And I'm telling you, that note has saved my life at times. I keep that note very close to me because, it's never completely all over, when you're dealing with depression, you have, peaks and valleys. It's, it can be a bit of a roller coaster, but I mean, I keep that note, close to me because he commented that I saved his life, but in turn, he saves my life anytime I feel down, because I can take that note and that will fill me up.
And
give me the.
Everybody says, "Oh, I don't want to burden somebody." No, you're not burdening us. You're actually helping us.
You're helping us. You're throwing us a lifeline.
Yes. 100%.
By reaching out to somebody else, that person that you're reaching out to, you're throwing them a lifeline because you're giving their life purpose.
Correct. And that's the biggest thing. And I get that. Oh, I don't want to bother you. No, you're not bothering. You're saving me. You're throwing me a life jacket when I'm trying to swim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And don't be mistaken. Anybody, whoever can listen to this or hear this, you're not a burden to me or Greg or anybody. You're saving us in ways that, we hope you'll find out yourself when you get down this road.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, it sounds like your dogs might need a little trip outside or some Greg time.
Well, actually, because my birthday was Friday, so I'm at a friend's house and they made dinner for me, a little birthday dinner. So I think they're about ready to serve
Oh,
cake.
yeah.
We're certainly not going to keep you.
Happy birthday. You know,
Thank you.
you're a Capricorn or
Aquarius.
Aquarius? I'm a Capricorn, so we're close enough.
Oh, when's your birthday?
January 7th.
Okay, my husband's January 4.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what's that book, The Outliers? They talk
Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. Yeah.
Yeah. What all professional athletes come with birthdays in the first 3 months.
Right. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Because Malcolm Gladwell, that's what started Outliers was hockey.
Yep.
Yep.
Prime example, January 7th.
That's it.
We'll leave. I know it's your birthday dinner. Thank you for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor that you took time out of your birthday dinner. So please apologize for me to your family and friends.
No worries.
And if you're hearing Greg talk and be so giving with his thoughts and his story, I just want to give him a hug. Like after.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks.